Anywhere you move, there are going to be things that you love about that place and things that you hate about that place. Unsurprisingly, Virginia is no different. So let's talk about some of the things that you're going to love about Virginia and some of the things that you probably won't love so much. I've always been a fan of getting bad news first, so let's start out by talking about some of the not so great things about Virginia. One of the biggest things that I don't love about Virginia is the personal property tax, even though I understand why they have it. If you're not familiar with the personal property tax, it's a tax that your county applies to any vehicle that you own. There are very few exceptions to this requirement, which means that pretty much everyone who owns a car and any other vehicle is going to be subject to this tax. There are several factors that are considered when determining your tax bill, but just suffice it to say that you could be looking at up to several $100s every single year just to own your car. And that's on top of every other expense that you have, like gas, insurance, and regular maintenance. There are parts of Virginia that are very reasonably priced. On the other hand, there are some parts that are really expensive. And Northern Virginia, where I spend most of my time, is one of those places. The cost of living for some of these areas is anywhere from just slightly over the national average to massively over the national average. Some areas are even more expensive than DC, which might come as a bit of a surprise. And that's just talking averages. If you start getting into the specific criteria that make up that average cost of living, the individual categories can be up to even double the cost compared to if you lived anywhere in the rest of the country and even other places in the region. If you've heard that Virginia is part of the South and you're looking for some Southern charm living, you would be in the right spot depending on where you're looking. Northern Virginia is closer in feel to the Northeast and DC than it is to the South. You really only start feeling like you get some of that Southern charm once you get to Richmond or even several hours away from Northern Virginia. It's nice that you have fairly easy access to areas where you can find the Southern charm, but it's really not a day-to-day thing if you're based out of Northern Virginia. Anyone who has been to most any large city in Virginia, especially Northern Virginia, will tell you that traffic is horrible. And they're right. As an example, Northern Virginia received an award back in 2017, naming it as having some of the worst traffic in the US. While it hasn't won any awards lately for horrible traffic, at least that I know of, you'll soon realize once you spend any amount of time on the roads that it doesn't need any award to recognize how bad things can get. Even though the traffic can be really bad, you can learn to adapt, and while you'll still have moments where you probably will get angry, if you find a good podcast or some great music to keep you company, it tends to not be quite so noticeably bad. It is really humid and really rainy here. There are days that I sometimes wonder if I actually live in the Pacific Northwest rather than the East Coast, thanks to all of that rain. And even on days when it's not rainy, it sometimes feels like you're walking out into a wet blanket. This was honestly probably one of the first things I noticed about the area because my hair gets so incredibly frizzy, especially on humid days, and I could not figure out why I looked like a mad scientist. The humidity is most noticeable in the summer, and the rain is most prevalent during the spring and fall. So the good news is that you have several seasons where you don't have to worry about it. Additionally, as with the traffic, you definitely learn to adapt and account for it when planning your day. So we've talked about some kind of bummer things about Virginia, but let's end on a high note and talk about some of the awesome things about Virginia. Virginia is such a great food place. Regardless of if you're in Virginia Beach, Northern Virginia, or Richmond, just to name a few, you have tons of really good options. Some areas have a wide mix of food choices from standard American fare to international cuisine. Others are more focused on the American classics, such as amazing burgers, hot dogs, and steaks, while other areas of the state pride themselves on the best Southern comfort foods, like chicken and waffles, mac and cheese, and grits. No matter where you go, it's probably going to be hard to make a wrong decision when it comes to food. Virginia has surprisingly easy access to so many different places. Since Virginia sits right in the middle of the East Coast, it's an easy road trip north or south, or even west, depending on what you're feeling. Thankfully, Virginia does a good job maintaining the roads to make your road trips just a little easier and a little less stressful. There are also several rail and bus lines traversing the state if you prefer those options. Additionally, Virginia has plenty of airports if you're looking to take a trip stateside or internationally. Virginia also has several locations where cruise lines depart from, meaning that the seas are also at your beck and call. Virginia has a wide variety of landscapes and experiences to choose from. Northern Virginia offers a more urban, city feel, given its proximity to DC and just the way that it's developed over time. Richmond has also developed in its own unique way as the state capital and stands out as a gem for history, art, and culture. Virginia Beach is, as the name suggests, known for its beach environment and maritime history. On the west side of the state, you get to experience all of the wonders of the Shenandoah Forest and Appalachian Mountains. These are just a few examples that highlight the wide variety of experiences available. And even if you're looking to stay in your own city, there are typically plenty of adventures to be found inside town or as a quick day trip. Virginia is full of fun events whether you stay within your city or head out to other places across the state. Regardless of your interest, there is something out there for you. From Civil War battle reenactments, tours and tastings at wineries and breweries, state and county fairs, and film festivals, there are so many cool ways to spend your time that you really don't have to be bored if you don't want to. I've created a list of some of the events across the state, so be sure to check it out using the link in the description below. Don't forget to check out the list of Virginia events in the description, and then check out this other video of cool things to do in Northern Virginia during the winter.